So here we got an 01 F250 7.3 with the 10.5 Sterling rear axle. It has the updated rear aluminum cover. Normally they just come with a regular steel cover, but that was all rusted out, and this one, because of the fins on here, tends to keep the diff a little cooler than the stock plate. So basically today we're going to change the oil on this bad boy, and you can either suck out all the oil out of the fill hole, which is basically right there, and otherwise, if you don't have something that you can suck the oil out of with, like a pan pump or something, the one I have, the hose is too big. You're gonna have to pull off this cover, and we'll run through how easy it is. There's no mysteries involved. So you don't need air tools with this, but if you have an air tool, this is a 6mm hex socket, and all these bolts come off pretty easy. Okay, so you take your screwdriver or pry bar, stick it in somewhere here until the cover comes loose. Pry back slowly, and there goes all your juice. That is dirty stuff. You leave a screw in the bottom just so the plate doesn't fall off on you. Then we pull the cover off to reveal the innards. There was quite a bit of junk that came out of there. Hopefully everything's okay still. I don't have time to fix it all, so that's gonna have to get cleaned up. So basically you have to scrape all the junk off of here all the way around, clean it all up. Use some rags and some brake clean spray, and just gently clean the inside as far as you can get, and clean the outside here with brake clean. Make sure there's no oil dripping here, and typically what we do is clean the cover first, and on the cover you put the RTV silicone. This time I'm using some gray stuff that's a higher temperature than the blue stuff here, and you spread that on the cover. Let it sit for a bit till it, not till it skins over, but almost. Then you push it on, put all the bolts on, and you wait about a half an hour, and then you torque it down until the final seal. So that's the way it goes. So in this case I'm using a piece of leftover aluminum. You can use whatever you like. You can see how it scrapes it off here. You don't want to make too many extra scrapes in the actual metal, so just be really careful when you're cleaning it off. It doesn't have to be perfect, but as good as you can get. You want to get the majority of the old silicone off here, all the way around. So once we get most of the oil out, you got to go right in here with your finger. You see how that's still coming out? There's a couple little depressions in the bottom of the differential housing in here, and you can get a bit more oil out that way. And then wipe the whole edge clean here. There's still going to be a little bit of oil dripping out of off the ring gear right here. There's nothing you can do about that. But just make sure it's real clean. And then we're going to hit it up with some brake clean and clean the whole surface a bit more. And this particular differential requires a 75W140 synthetic. There's a tag that fits right there that actually indicates that, and that stuff is about $22 Canadian a liter, and I guess about a liter and a half or so. I got 2 bottles to fill it up through the drain hole. So here's the oil that we're using. Pensol synthetic 75W140. pretty darn expensive, but only use the best if it's your vehicle. This is the brake clean stuff, gunk that we use for cleaning up brakes. It degreases just about anything. It's pretty high in solvents, so be careful when you use a lot of this stuff. Here's the ultra gray Permatex that we're using to seal it. This one is listed up to 625 Fahrenheit, 392 Celsius, which is a little higher than the blue stuff that you typically use, or the black. The black is almost as hot a temperature as this one, but this one is even higher, so figure that's probably a good idea. So we're just using the top of the garbage can here as a stand. We've taken our straight edge and pretty much scraped off everything that's on here, but there's a little groove that runs all the way through, so we're going to use a really small screwdriver to clean that out as well. This cover is basically, I think it's 2008 and up that you can buy these covers, and there's a few vendors that sell these covers versus the steel one, just in case you're wondering. So after we clean out the groove here, we're going to use the brake clean and just clean the whole thing out. Alright, now we've got the cover pretty much cleaned up. You can see we've gone through the groove here with a screwdriver and got most of that junk out. So what you do is you take your brake clean, put it over top of your oil drain, and basically just hose that off. Get all the junk off. You don't want any grease on here. So we're going to have to wipe this down one time and give it another spray. Pretty clean already. Stuff's really stinky. So then you take your ratchet off. If you don't have air, thank you Gordon for the air ratchet, by the way. That was a nice Christmas present. Take your air gun. You can give it a quick wipe too. You can use your blowgun and clean it up. So now it's all dry. We're going to apply the silicone bead now and clean up the diff on the car. So here we've got the ultra gray, and you want to go around both sides. It's pretty thick stuff actually. Nice bead all the way around, and it's best to go around all the bolt holes. I'm going to go around this from the inside and from the outside. This stuff is about $10 a tube. So that's the inside, and then we'll do the outside as well. As you can see, we've gone all the way around. You don't want to use your finger to spread this, just leave it as a bead all the way around. And we'll let that dry for about 10 minutes or so. In the meantime, we'll clean up the differential on the vehicle, and then we'll stick this on after about 10-15 minutes. Once this, you want it to have a tiny little skin over the silicone, and then it creates a much better seal after you tighten it up. So if there's some oil in the lower holes, you can just put the little nozzle attachment from there into the holes. Watch out for your eyes though, it comes out pretty good. Just want to make sure that there's no oil in there at all, because that'll impede the seal that you get. And then just put a little bit on your cloth or rag or whatever you're using, and go all the way around and just make sure that's all really nice and oil free. You see all the junk that comes off of there. Probably do this a couple times to make sure it's 100% clean. You don't want any oil on there whatsoever. It's got to be completely dry and free of foreign matter, or it's going to leak after you get this back together, and you're not going to like that. Okay, that's pretty good. It's nice and dry. Okay, so now I've got the surfaces prepped. It's been a few minutes. this is dried over a little bit. There's only one way to put it on. Obviously you can see that the large ring gear fits in the slot, but there is a bit of play on this cover, so it's ideal if you can get one of the screws, place it through the cover and get that ready to go. There we go. Put that one in there. Then we need another one in. Just hand tight. You don't want the stuff squeezing out everywhere yet. Just use your fingers. Probably a little bit will squeeze out, but you want to tighten them up just a little bit. Don't go crazy. Just until you see a little bit squeezing out. Okay, you can see we've got all the fasteners on there, and they're basically just hand tight, and you can see the silicone squeezing out here and there. So we're going to let that sit for about an hour or two, and then we'll fill the oil. So now we're going to hand tighten these. Start at the bottom, work your way up. Probably be a bit more that squeezes out. Nice and tight. And then we can start filling oil in there. Okay, now we've sealed the differential in the back, and this is the fill hole here. Basically you don't need a socket, it just fits right on the 3/8 attachment that is on the ratchet. And pop that out of there. Typically they're about halfway up the diff. This one's a little bit lower. There's also a magnet right inside there, so when you take this out the first time, make sure you clean off the end there, which I've done already. Then you take your oil, 75 W140 synthetic, and basically just hold the bottle right up there and squeeze it in, and this stuff smells really nice. Used and new. I call it yummy lube personally, because it smells like somebody that had beans and sauerkraut the day before. So you just keep filling it in there. It sounds like somebody ate beans too. And once it starts, when it gets so full that it starts leaking down here, you put the plug in, and then it's all full, ready to go. So now we got it filled. There's just a bit of excess here that you need to wipe off. And then we use the brake clean to just clean up the whole area a little bit. That will evaporate fairly quick, and then you can see, you know, if you ever have a leak in the future, it would be really easy to see because you've cleaned it all up. We'll do the same thing on the back of the differential as well. And if I hadn't mentioned it, 3 liters is what you need to fill it up. So now we'll do the same thing on the back here. Just want to get it all nice and clean. Make sure there's no oil leaking out. We'll be able to see it right under there. Perfect. We'll just let that dry, and we're good to go.